Hey guys, welcome to another Artist Spotlight interview. Introducing Aedel Fakhrie.
Hello, guys.
Hey,
Thank you, Mike, for inviting me.
that's all good. I've always because I believe I had you on my I think my Facebook before I realized you were
Yeah,
anywhere else, and I just thought you did some really cool stuff, and the style stuff that you were doing at the time is really cool. So um, yeah, like how did like when did you get started doing all this stuff? Like when were you kind of working and doing all this?
excuse me. When I start
Yeah.
this,
When did you get started? Like we'll have
it's
get some of your we'll get some of your work up and just
actually I work as graphic designer at first, and then I really like to draw and stuff, and I decided to study and focus on what I'm doing right now
mm,
from around to 2014, I think.
all right.
So yeah, so it's been like 6 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Have you worked for any like big companies or anything like that or
yeah. Some of game developer and some of my portfolio are for some for film concept art for film.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
but yeah, that's it.
all right. So where like in terms of starting off and you beginning work and things, did you always start with what you're doing now, like more like sci-fi, and or did you have a different origin to where you started?
Uh, yeah, I start from sci-fi because
Okay,
I love it. Yeah,
yeah. So you've been doing that day one.
yeah,
You just started with that. All right, that's pretty cool. Um,
yeah.
so when you start anything, what is what's your techniques to start? Do you usually draw something and then because you have a lot of everything's pretty much hand painted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's hand painted. Um,
At first, yeah, I do a lot of watercolor, some watercolor, and then I try to switch it into digital painting.
mm,
Uh, yeah.
that's pretty
So,
cool. Do you have any watercolor stuff that you can show?
uh, not much, but I have on my Instagram. I think it's like old artwork, I guess.
Because you've taken that technique over to your work that you do now, which is really cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I also love your work.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, it's pretty sick, you know. I love it. I love the design you always made and update on your Facebook.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, man. Gotta keep pushing, trying to do one better than your last.
So this is my watercolor, I think. I mean, I have a lot in my watercolor book, but
Mm,
I don't. I'm not that much to take photo on
yeah.
or my artwork. Yeah, but here's
It's
the
just
example.
and
Yeah,
and I guess it's a bit messy for you to
yeah,
kind of yeah, because watercolors is one of but you get a really nice unique result. It's kind of like it's messy, but yeah, it's
yeah. Thanks, man. Before I go to digital painting, that's where I start from watercolor and some doodling like this, you know. So
mm, that's really cool. It kind of reminds me of Kim Jong Un, not Kim Jong, Kim Jin.
man, Kim Jong
Yeah,
Un.
yeah, Jong Yi. I fucking butchered
Yeah,
that.
is is
Yeah,
oh,
like
there's more like
that's
this
really
one.
cool. Yeah, you married it really well. I find that though you brought that over to the digital side really well, and
Thank you.
you've got that feel. You haven't lost. You know how you lose the translation from one art form to the next. You kind of just lose it, and that's a hard thing to like keeping that technique because it's a different, completely different art form. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm. So do you find there's like what are clients asking you to do these days?
Um, More like they ask for like vehicle design and mecha design, or
Yeah.
sometimes character design. Yeah.
Mm.
So basically, they saw my art on my Instagram or art station, and they just directly uh, ask or request me just like that, just like what I did.
Mm.
Not specifically like, can you do this outside of my portfolio looks?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's cool. Because I often wonder what people are getting asked for work these days. It just always interests me because there's so many things being worked on all at once. It's always interesting to see what I guess yeah, what clients ask for, and like it's just a crazy amount. There's a crazy amount of projects, and like half of them never get off the ground anyway. But yeah, no, it's really cool. So when you were doing oil painting, you pretty much moved to digital pretty quickly after that.
oh, I don't do much oil painting. Actually, it's more like watercolor
Oh yeah,
painting.
I mean watercolor painting, all that mixed up.
But in my digital painting, I want to looks like oily. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, you want
looks
that.
like oily. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because in real life, oil painting it's really hard. I mean, how you mix the color and stuff. It's really hard for me. I don't know for anybody else,
yeah.
but yeah, it's really hard.
It's just getting the with oil painting. Is it kind of getting the colors to blend? 'Cause I haven't done it before. So is it just the process of blending it with each other? Because you're working with oil essentially, so it's like kind of thick and gloopy and
Yeah, yeah.
somewhat unpredictable. I imagine. Is So really, when you work with Photoshop now, are you using any like particular like understanding that you're kind of how you find a workflow that works for you? It's is there a particular workflow that you like doing the best? Like, do you start with line drawing? Do you kind of start with just maybe some colors or?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes I do it with line drawing and stuff, and
Mm,
for detailing and stuff. But
mm.
sometimes I do it with silhouette technique.
Okay, yeah,
Yes, I make the silhouette, and then I got shape what look what the shape looks like, and then I put some details on it,
yeah,
just like that. Yeah.
yeah. You can show some techniques if you like. It's always interesting to see people work. And have you made any brushes for yourself?
No, not yet. But
Oh,
I'm
really?
using, yeah, but I'm using Palang brush. Is Palang brush? He is a great artist.
Yeah. Palin
Yeah,
brush. How do you spell that?
Palang, Palang, Peleng,
What was that? E
Peleng.
N G.
I forgot what his real name.
So you use his brushes to do your
Sergey
stuff.
Kolesov. Okay, what?
You use those brushes to do your work lately, or not? Not you
Yeah,
only
yeah,
just.
yeah. I usually frequently use this brush.
And so so is this like the idea of mimic a certain workflow that you would do with just it's just kind of a workflow that you kind of like because you like the effect of this brush essentially.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I like the effect of this brush
Mm.
because it has textures
Mm.
on it, and then when you mix it with other color, it's like it looks like blending, you know, but it's not actually blend, but the textures make it looks blend.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I for example, if I want to make a hard surface material, so I don't have to making I it's only like once it's only like one step move, you know. I
Mm.
don't have to put another texture at all.
I
So
understand what you
yeah,
mean.
it's look like a tick or something like that.
Yeah. So this is the silhouette method of doing it, I assume. Yeah. Do you reference much?
Yeah, I do reference
Yeah.
much for
So you,
something I don't understand it much, so
mm.
I should see the reference.
And it's really just kind of like I know when I work, I'm just trying to find it at the start. I'm sure that you're trying to find a good silhouette, and then you build your ideas from there, and you kind of evolve it on from there and tweak it. And so it's
Yeah,
you just kind of like at the start, you're just trying to find something really cool, and then kind of as you go on, you're kind of grounding it more and more as you do it, right? So
yeah.
have you ever thought about doing an art book and things like that?
Oh, I have already an art book.
Oh, nice. I
I printed myself and then I sell it like
yeah.
I even give the PDF free.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, it was like the end of the year last year, I think.
How come?
But
Why'd you end up getting it free? What happened? I thought you meant to be selling an art book, isn't it?
well, actually, um, I don't have in mind to selling it. I mean, like this is just like my milestone. After 5 years, I make an artwork.
All right. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
So
just do. Yeah,
it wasn't particular like art book that you sat down and you made for a
yeah,
book in the sense you just the accumulation of all your artwork. Is that what you mean?
yeah.
Yeah. I get you. Yeah.
But and it's ended up people requested me to print it and sign it.
Yeah.
So actually, I end up selling it by order
Mm.
of many people. Uh, direct message me
Mm.
to print it
I
and
think
sign it.
that's what happens if you realize there's actually like a demand for it, and then you actually have to take your time um, to do all these things because people actually they do like your work. So and people would pay for like a hard copy book and
Yeah.
a signature from you. So no, look, it's well rewarded. Plus, I guess you had good intention. You gave it out there free, which kind of the world gave back to you, and people actually wanted to essentially buy it from you. So, which is it's always a good thing as an artist because it's your kind of like it's like saying that you're doing something right.
Uh,
So when you really then you blocking in the silhouette, and then you have an idea, and you just
yeah.
really you're building up these forms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
So what's the most? Do you have a preferred method of working, or do these methods kind of change as you do the work? Like it depending on the job or the requirement. Do you have
For
Is that?
some commission, it's depend on the brief.
Yeah.
If I do some lot of thumbnails, I'm using this technique, the
Mm.
silhouette.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's a good technique. You
uh, it's
working in
fast because it's fast. Yeah,
working in that simple way because you're not bogging yourself down.
yeah. And if some like personal commission and stuff, I
Mm.
do line sketching,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah. So
How
it depends.
how
Yeah.
long would you spend on doing commissions? Do you? Because I assume you would polish those a lot more.
I can tell actually how long it
Oh,
is. It?
really?
Yeah, I mean, if there's no, if there
Well,
is if there's no, you know what?
what about some of your personal ones that you've been pretty proud of? How long do you spend on those?
Uh, my personal artwork.
Yeah, like really refined ones and finished ones.
Maybe one day.
All right, that's pretty good.
If I do personal works, I cannot leave it like 2 or 3 days. It's already changed my mood, and then I usually never. Yeah, I usually never finish it in
Ah,
the end.
you have that. Yeah, it's tough to leave
Yeah,
things longer. Yeah,
yeah.
because have you? Well, what happens if like, let's say you have to do something longer than a day for personal
Yeah.
work? What would get you psychologically to do that?
Yeah. Do
Would
you
you?
feel that too? I mean,
Oh
do you
yeah,
feel that? Oh,
it's well that's the battle. I find that's the battle of because the thing is you're going to come say if you want to come to this one the next day, right? You're going to feel different. You might be like maybe you had too much caffeine the other day and you're grumpy. And the
yeah.
thing is, well, the thing what I'm like really doing lately is like noticing how like moody I am and like because I come from like a naturally angry household. So then I'm naturally at a default, like everyone in my family, I think is angry. So then I
Oh,
understand that. And I'm like, okay, I'm naturally angry. So I have to drop that bullshit. Right. So I'm like,
yeah.
and then I'm probably got some anxiety because I come from a background where there's a lot of anxiety. So understanding that. And
Oh,
okay, then you're like,
all
well,
right.
all right, what's my real mood? And you just separate your mood from the work. And you're like, well, okay, I'm looking at the work. I should probably finish it. It deserves to be finished. Separate my emotions aside, and that's how I like
Oh,
that's. And then there's like that push of like, okay, there's another thing of like, say if you look at this the next day, are you going to overwork it? Right? Do you fall into that trap? Do you think that tomorrow looking at this you're not going to be in the mood because maybe you're going to over overanalyze or do you just do you tend to hate things after one day or you like you don't want to do it because you might overwork it or then overthink it?
uh, yeah. It's about overthink it. I think
What was that? Overdoing it?
overthink it. Overthink
Okay,
it.
yeah. What I find is good for overthinking is you keep a revision. So then when I always keep a revision and then I look at it, I'll look at it before I get started on it, or I'll reference my revision. And if I
Uh,
start to, if I deviate away from it, I've gone, okay, I've just overlooked this. I'm going to overwork it, and then I'm going to overchange. Like when you have like certain details, and you think, I should have never changed those details. You ever been there with your work? Like it
yeah,
looked
yeah.
better. Yeah, I think it's like how you never get like a mozzie bite and you're itchy, right? And you want to scratch it.
Hmm?
It's kind of like that. Like you shouldn't scratch it and just leave it alone. It would be better if you didn't scratch your itch. It's kind of like a lot of things when you design it. The looseness of the creativity that you first came up with was probably the better version of it, and then the way you refine it is through a process of like constraint. And I think that's like the whole practice. That's how I do it anyway. I'm sure you're just like what you're doing is like maybe you're stopping yourself before you do it. See, why'd you undo those revisions? What made you undo those on the helmet?
Uh, yeah,
What
sometimes.
okay,
Yeah.
what made you do that?
Uh, some revision on the helmets.
Yeah, like because you had a bigger silhouette. What made you change it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I just following my.
Gut.
Yeah, the idea is just like flowing, and then
Yeah.
oh, this is good, this is bad, and stuff,
Yeah.
and that stuff. Yeah,
Well,
just like
yeah.
yeah.
It's funny because it's like so many ideas would work, and me looking at that now, I was like, oh, that was all right. But whatever you're feeling and thinking is different to me, right? And like
Oh, yeah.
yeah, like I can't possibly get inside your head, right? Unless I like talk to you every step of the way. But which is it's interesting because like I thought, well, whatever you're doing with the helmet there was very interesting and it has a really great silhouette. But you thought maybe it's too much. Let me change it and then scale back to the first revision. So
Yeah.
like it's funny because doing revisions and what one person's opinion is of something is a funny thing to actually break down. So like either I think a lot of times as artists we probably like say that we either go to a safe direction of doing something or we're kind of like purely playing on our emotions where your emotions are where you like you're comfortable also. So when you I think when you kind of maybe if you do something that is too out there you kind of like you steer it back. I know I do that a lot and then I have a practice of doing the opposite of what I'm thinking because that's like because we're all trained to do like we're all trained to do the same behavior and get used to it, and that's probably like the worst thing in a way to for an artist, but then the best thing as well. So like you get stuck on, so you're not doing anything longer than a day. You're just pumping out one day at a time each piece.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat it?
So you're doing you essentially you only spend one day on each piece.
Oh, yeah,
Oh really?
yeah.
No, you couldn't do like no longer than that, or
I mean, I can do it longer than that, but maybe the feel will the feels the first I feel of making the work this artwork
hmm.
is it's gonna be different.
Yeah,
It's gonna be different. I mean, because there's maybe there's a lot of ideas popping out and stuff, but and then it ended like it's way different from the start. I want it looks like.
yeah.
I mean, yeah,
I think you could.
or
Yeah.
the mood is changing. The
Mm,
how how I try to make the artwork at the first time. It will change. I mean the mood, my mood.
yeah,
So
I think you could definitely. I reckon you have to devise ways for yourself because you say if you really want to finish a piece, like make it, uber polished. I think you just got to
oh
have it referenced. So you got to
oh yeah
put some. You know how like we're really as human beings we're really badly misbehaved even when we're adults. Like we're like the worst misbehaved things ever. Like you've seen monkeys and things like that. They're just like you got that really simple monkey brain, and I think we're constantly trying to negotiate our emotions. And I think what you got to do is you got to put like it's like having a schedule for what you're going to do in the day. And you go, I'm going to do this today. I'm going to do that today. I'm going to do this like a routine. I think the same thing for like art, where you have to kind of go, okay, this is what I came up with. I need to stick to it, and I can't deviate. And you have to like tell yourself that. I think you could do it. I think because it's just everything is just a battle with the mind, and it's like
yeah
yeah,
you're right.
yeah,
It's better with the mind. Yeah, mostly
yeah.
like that.
That's that's what life is. Life is learning how to um, be human and sane and content and yeah, not uh, not kind of like letting your your thoughts get to you and everything else. Because you know, there's lots of things like if you always listen to your brain, you'll probably be in a really bad situation. Pretty, you know, like your head tells you a lot of things in life, and they're not always the good things. And I always think that's the same for art. You know, if you ever work on something and you think, oh, like all of a sudden you just don't like it anymore. You know how you get that type of thing. Have you ever been like that, like with your work?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah. Most,
in
yeah.
I don't know,
Then what?
and then you post it somewhere and people love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's an odd thing to think about. Like you got to think about like what's happening in your head that has made you do that. Like what, and that's why I always think, um, yeah, open up your older revisions and then look at it. And then what I do is I end up to like just I tend to be like hands off, and I do reviews at the end of the day, and I end up looking at what I've done, and I try and go, okay, what have I done? What did I fuck up? What did I overlook? Uh, what do I actually need to improve? And that's kind of like the real, like you're just being realistic, and what doesn't matter, you know, all these little things, what doesn't matter and what really matters, and you constantly just negotiating all that fun stuff inside your head.
Um.
Did you do any art study?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still learning the fundamentals actually.
All
Still
right.
now.
Yeah.
I still learning how to. Uh, I still learning anatomy and perspective.
Mm.
Mostly like uh, human muscles and stuff. So it's relate for it's relate with my mecha with my mecha design because actually I combining my my knowledge about anatomy and then I combine it with mechanical things
Mm.
that I have in my mind. So yeah, that's really works. I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
well, I guess with learning anatomy, it's learning anatomy. I've learned anatomy a long time ago, and there's a lot of things you yeah. It's a funny thing to learn because sometimes you think you know how it looks because you've seen it all the time, but like when you start moving, you're like thinking, well, how does an elbow look when it's bent, and you know
yeah,
how does
yeah,
it?
just like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
funny stuff. Like it's really funny stuff.
other
Like
stuff.
you know, the things you know, it's just those weird things. But you can always like sometimes you can estimate how something would look, and you're better, or you can do it. But other things you're just like, I need a reference for that. So but yeah.
Yeah.
So with doing all this stuff now, like because you're still pretty much working with just a very much basic tonal value. Are you doing like dodge, or is it just all pretty much straight up normal layer effect on top with you're just changing the value from lighter to darker?
Uh, can you repeat it? Sorry.
So when you're painting with your brushes, are you using any like passes on it, like you know how you do color dodge or screen pass, or how you
Oh,
change, yeah, you change your layering?
I'm not. I'm not doing that thing. I mean, I'm not using that features. I think. So
Yeah,
I just paint. Yeah,
so you're just
picking
using,
my other color. Yeah.
yeah, like do you use swatches, or just you just use a color picker?
I'm using color pickup
All right.
actually.
Yeah.
I'm using HSB
Yeah.
to find the color. So yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess if you wanted to start coloring this up, you just kind of like start adding color and Do
Yeah.
you go back and tune your colors or anything like it? Like, do you kind of like you do a selective color hue and saturation? Do you do any of that?
Not really.
No, it's just all straight.
Uh,
Yeah, okay, that's
yeah.
pretty cool. So it's all pretty much straight up pass. You're just really you're pretty much just using brushes and colors. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right, that's pretty cool.
Mostly like that. Are you also painting, Mike? I mean,
Um, I
in
want
your
to.
free time?
I want to. So this is why I take interest in everything because I want to do I want to do some painting and things like that. My drawing skills are pretty bad these days. They used to be a lot better, but I have to start doing those kind of fundamental things. It's just there's so many things to do that I need to just start doing it a little bit every day. But it's always great to like talk to someone like yourself who who's doing drawing and just watch kind of watch you work, and because there's always something to learn from other people, and that's I definitely like the method. I really like this way of painting, the way you're doing it. Um, it's very organic. It's kind of how it's pretty much how I work in Zbrush.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the way you work is how I work in Zbrush, which is
Oh, I
cool.
see.
Yeah. So like, because the way you're working it, you get to find the forms, and it's kind of like it's almost like how people use kit bashes and they kit bash things. It's a very organic way of kit bashing in a way where it's all painterly instead, and I really enjoy that natural um, way of working, and because it's always going to be original with each piece. So when you look at your work, each piece has a originality to it, and that's what
Oh.
is always unique to this way of working. So it's kind of you have to essentially, I always think of it. It's like an evolution and evolving something coming out. And so I know what you're doing is you're trying to look for cool shapes, and then you're trying to make sense of them, right?
Mm. Also, I saw your work for Down.
Yeah,
Horizon Down. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's still going on, or for the
Uh,
next?
no, I'm not working on it, anything else for Horizon. So that's I'm not I'm not sure what they're doing for that. I'm sure they'll be doing something, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see the next stuff for Horizon. Yeah, I think it'll be pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
well, I guess I assume they're going to have a lot more people on, and we'll be able to put a lot more work into those designs. Where, well, let's hope they don't. I hope they don't end up just like kit bashing the designs, because I think then they'll look like shit. I'm probably
Oh.
happily say they'll probably look like shit if they kit bash them, because the way I made them, I didn't kit bash any of that stuff. I kind of grew it like you did, so
Oh. All right.
you get that really organic thing, like its own thing. And I think when you kit bash things, you produce an okay result. It's random and chaotic, but I think you really need to lay down the groundwork. I think you probably could.
Oh.
I think you can kit bash, but then you need to lay down the groundwork first, and then just use that as it's like the cherry on the cake analogy. You put the cherry on the cake, and it's the cake. It's kind of like um, you need to make the cake and get your hands dirty and all that stuff. Then you can have a great design. Because I think
Oh.
yeah, I think usually the best designs are usually drawn out first, and then it kind of evolved and grown in a way where you're evolving the parts around one another and intertwining it, and you can use it for inspiration. But I find that if you start off with doing such methods, the conclusion's always a certain look, and it's always a more rigid sterile look to the designs.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because you wouldn't say your designs have a sterile look. They're like breathing, they're organic. You know, that's what that's my thing that I like a lot. I know other people don't like that so much, and they want the other side of making really hard and rigid and yeah, you can see, you've drawn this, and it's like, it's in a pose, it's dynamic, and it's, you have that sense of movement already, even if it's a little bit. And so you've grown it, right? You've like, you started from what, mainly the head,
Yeah.
and then you've grown it outwards. And the thing is, the estimation of your proportions are still pretty good, considering that you didn't start from a full body. So
Yeah.
because you've done it, like, how many times have you done this method to draw something?
Well, I do it like I did this like more like when I'm doodling and
Mm.
yeah, for normal I mean for a job for a job by brief I done this much. I mean I already have made I already make the silhouette, full body and
Mm.
pose more like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do it like this normally actually. So
Well, it's still pretty good, because I mean, it's not like it's not like you fucked up the proportions. So you know when you fuck up proportions, you're like, oh man, look at it. The
yeah,
arms are too short, the legs are way too short. So I think it's like that guy we were talking about just before. You're kind of like drawing in his style, but you're still, your estimation and your ability to read proportions is pretty good, even if you haven't drawn it yet. So, have you ever tried using ZBrush?
oh yeah, I've
Yeah.
tried. Yeah, I've tried ZBrush. I really want to. I really want to make my artwork into 3D,
Mm.
but I don't like. I don't. I'm not okay with the UI,
Yeah.
so
Well,
I'm kind of give up with that thing. So yeah.
well, yeah. Look, I'll give you some encouragement. I
Okay.
look,
Okay.
when you first use ZBrush, it's the worst thing ever. I think you
Oh,
can't
oh
even.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Do
the
you feel
worst.
that too?
Yeah, it is. Of course, it's like, gives you a headache. Do you get a headache when you're like, how do I do this? Like, it's annoying. So with ZBrush, you have to like open it up, and the first thing you have to click is edit, so you can then edit your mesh. But the thing is, when I first used ZBrush, I'm like, how do I edit the mesh? Because in most programs, 3D programs, you can open it up and you don't have to fucking do anything. You don't have to press edit mesh. You just like go to vertices and you're done. But that's what in ZBrush, that's what it is. Like, it's kind of like
Mm,
select vertices or select polygons. So
mm.
that's like your first hurdle for any beginner. It's really weird, but
Oh,
and like, you accidentally get those little confusions of dragging your mesh to the canvas, and then unselecting edit mesh, and then you're like, oh, I can't edit my mesh anymore, and you get confused with the canvas, because the canvas. So ZBrush used to be a 2.5D application, which means it used to be 2D, right? So ZBrush is actually like
oh,
this, what you're doing now, in a weird way.
oh,
So this is why ZBrush is so weird at the start. It was always intended at the start to not be a 3D application. It was later converted to handle 3D, right? So like, this is why the UI is so weird. But the way they created the application is based on something called pixels, like not pixels, pixels, right? It's a proprietary technology which it can handle really dense polygons, and the way it renders it, it can handle like 10 times anything else. This is why it's an industry standard, an industry leader at doing anything. Like, all the other applications are shit, because we don't have the GPUs aren't powerful enough to where ZBrush can push things still, and they probably I don't know if they ever will be, because I think you either have to change the rendering technology, then you can be as powerful as ZBrush. But so the thing is that you get confused about is like the UI, like where is everything? And so what you need to do is
Yeah.
you need to go through and customize your brushes, and just watch a really basic tutorial, and just start off with a sphere. Before you go with a sphere, you're going to turn it to a make polymesh 3D sphere, and like you will you'll get there. You just need to, like, when you load up any, I don't know, like, do you use many, do you learn a lot of different programs?
Um, I use I used Maya 3D in a long time ago.
Yeah. Did you know how that, that learning curve feeling? How it's like you don't want to learn it, but you should learn it. But then um like with ZBrush, it's like it's even more of that. Like you think you should just be able to turn on a program and learn it, right? But
Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
like, and I think you kind of want to just be able to do what you're doing now, but in ZBrush. But it doesn't work like that. It's a little bit more complicated. So, what my advice is to you: just start learning the basics, and whatever. Like, I know one bit of advice is that set time to learn the program. Like, give yourself one whole day to sit down and learn ZBrush, right? Because you have that pain.
Okay.
There's a pain level, right? And you need to push
Yeah.
through the pain, right, to get the reward, right? And it's
Uh,
like it's annoying, and just know that learning it will be annoying, and that's the process of learning ZBrush. I mean, it's not easy, but if you just push through it and go, this is going to be annoying for one whole day, but in one whole day, you'll probably be able to model something similar to this, maybe like to what you're doing. If you just put one day into learning it, and there's so many basic tutorials. Just go watch all the, the Pixologic tutorials. Go watch that from start to finish. So yeah, just set yourself one full day, no other distractions, and just look at the tutorials. If you go on their website, they'll have they'll have it all there. So, but yeah, that would be a first look at the application. But dude, you should learn it. It'll be great to see you work in ZBrush, because you'll convert your style over. So
hmm.
yeah,
So
just
I saw your work, Thunder Thunder Joe, right?
mm,
Thunder Joe. You use it. You use ZBrush to make that.
yeah, all ZBrush and Dynamesh.
Oh
So
shit.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
Alright.
I think you'd love it, because you work like me, but you work like me in 2D. So I think you'd really enjoy doing that method of working. So um, yeah, you should definitely just put a day into it. And if you go down,
Oh,
so if you go down, yeah, see, that's the start of it. That's the early one, right?
oh
That's
shit.
And it's just messy, and it's like you're drawing, right? And you refine it,
Oh yeah,
and the
yeah.
skill, like because you're like, well, I can't get past the day. Well, you have to get past the day to do something like that. You will
Oh,
never, you won't make anything. Trust me. Like, you'll make some okay stuff, but you need to be able to remain focused. And this is why there's a lot of pictures here, because I will take a lot of pictures and make sure that when I do another revision, I'm doing it for the best, and I'm revising. And so then I'm tuning the shape, refining the shape, and there's as you know, when you learn to draw, there's lots of different techniques within the one technique that you need to nail down certain things that you're thinking and feeling, a lot of little
mm,
things like that. And I guess since I'm learning to teach people now, I learned to break it down. Like, if someone asked me a year ago, how do I work, I wouldn't be able to describe it, because when you when I ask you how you work, you're kind of like, yeah, I just start like this and do this. But there's a lot of like thinking going on that you're doing, and you're not vocalizing it, because when you start teaching people, you start refining your technique and cleaning it up
oh,
even more, and you make your technique even more efficient. But then you're able to convert it to the spoken word, because a lot of things that it's all just like in your head. So when you're drawing, it's all automatic. And so that's how, I used to be with my work, is just an automatic way to get there, but then I slowly refine it even more and more. So, but you can do that. You could do that. It just, your patience needs to be there, and your eye for good silhouette, which is something that you do pretty well. And I think the best artist is, what makes a good artist is their persistence. That's what makes a good artist. So yeah, and that would be easy to do. You could do that stuff in a day. That's easy. You could do like two. You could do all of them in a day, really. So and they're like blockouts. The technique you were talking about, and then you go over it and you do another pass and you refine it and things like that. So, but yeah, you could do it.
Thanks for the encouragement. I think
That's all right.
I will try ZBrush again.
You just don't look. Have you sat down? Have you ever like sat down for a whole day to learn ZBrush?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I saw some. Yeah, I saw also some tutorials, but still don't get it. I mean, beside the UI, how it works, how the tools is. Yeah, how the tools supposed to be work, because I learned 3D from old Maya back in 2008 2007. It's I think it's really different from ZBrush, how things
yeah.
like.
Look, I'll give you, all right, I know we're talking about your stuff, but I'll give you like a 5-minute breakdown of it.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can do a screen share. I'll share my screen.
How I stop my screen, right?
Yep.
No.
I don't think you have to. All right, I'll share mine. I have ZBrush open. I'm not sure if you can see it. All right. So this is something that I've been referencing with my other things. So
very cool, man.
All right. But let's say if we start up ZBrush, right? This is all custom, but I'll restore the standard UI. And now even I'm probably a little bit lost. So even just explaining it to everyone else in you. So you load up ZBrush. What are you getting stuck on? Kind of like you just, because you've got edit up here. So you got edit. So
edit object.
Yeah. So okay. All right. Say if we wanted to start with ZBrush. Okay. Say Control N to clear the canvas. Right. We then go up to Tool up here on the right, and then we want to just that, or we can go to a sphere. We can drag that out. Right. And then now we go to Edit. Now that's editable, but we can't edit the sculpting yet. We need to convert that to make Polymesh 3D. Click Make Polymesh 3D, and then X to turn on symmetry. If you want to find that, it's right here, and then now you got that symmetry. Okay. X is not on. Yep, it's on there. So, but now we have, that's a pretty rough thing. But then see how you can, like, you're rotating it. It's all a bit funny. Like I can't rotate it the other way. So with your axis, you've got it here. So you want to rotate on the Z axis. So it feels a little bit more natural, right? Because the Z axis, I think it's the Z axis. Even I'm getting it wrong, or the XY Z axis. It depends where you're sculpting. So if we sculpt here, that's probably better. So you can see, look, we're designing already, right? And I'm using the mouse here, but I tend to use the mouse. So look, then we want to produce, we could either divide this, but for the methods that you like to work with, maybe will be in subtool. So it's not, it's a Dynamesh. Where's the Dynamesh? Once you start using a custom UI, you forget what everything is. So there we go. So it's under subtool on your right menu. So you come to subtool, go to Dynamesh. Oh no, it's in, yeah, is it? No, geometry. So it's under geometry, Dynamesh. And then you click Dynamesh, and then you've got your resolution here. Be careful with that. Just start with a low resolution. Now we've got the resolution to sculpt, and shift to smooth. And yeah, you can start just going in there. But like, since I haven't got any of my brushes up, your brushes will be in here, right? Wherever you've loaded
Oh.
your brushes. So these are my brushes here. And if you want to like customize it, you go, so you go to preferences config. And so when you go to customize, the enable customize, you can go into your brushes, right? And whatever you've got in this list or that you've selected. So say I want to, where's one of my brushes? I don't know, crease 3, right? And then once I clicked crease 3, it will be in the list down here. I think once I select another brush, I'll select another one. Now it will be in this list. So wherever it is, it's not in that list, but there's so many in here, but I think it's somewhere. You'll find it in this list usually once you've loaded the brush. And so you can then go Control Alt, drag that out, boom. That's one brush, right?
Oh, I see.
Drag that out, another brush. Because you really do need this, or you gotta set it up to a hotkey. So now I've got these brushes, and then, so say you go turn that off, and then you go save, you wanna store the custom config, and that will save the custom config. So when you load up ZBrush next, it will be like this. And you can do the same for Dynamesh. So, because you don't want to be going to that menu all the time, you can go, you do the same thing, enable customize, and then you can drag that out and then drag out the resolution one. The only thing that with Dynamesh you want to be aware of, you don't want to use polish, you don't want to use project, and you want to turn down the blur. So I usually drag those out. These ones are turned off by default. And so you just bring that down, and yeah, it's not much else that you're using with it. And so then you drag onto your canvas to re-Dynamesh. So that will readjust. I suggest maybe just get maybe one of my tutorials that explain little bits of these things. But I might actually I might actually do a very basic tutorial on YouTube because it won't take me too long. But yeah, like, and you can use smooth. And so let's say if you've got your custom UI, I'll restore my custom UI. This looks a bit more appealing to me. I'm not sure if it looks any more appealing to you. And you can just, you can just start going in and using smooth. And I've got polish brush here, and you can polish up. And it's very much the similar method to what you're doing, right? And then you can use the move tool, and yeah, you can start growing it. You could pretty much do the method. I could make a helmet from here. So you can see it's not too daunting, right? It's very much the hard stage. The really difficult stage is to finish it. This is easy, like concepting stuff and getting it to this stage where it's rough. It's easy. So, but hopefully that will give you some confidence. And I'll go back to your screen. But yeah, like if you want to share your screen again, but it's not as hard as you think. It really isn't, and hopefully give you some confidence in doing that. But yeah, like bringing it up to this level here, that's very much like I start with a rough, and you'll kind of go through your painting and then refine it, and you kind of do the same type of steps, right?
Yeah, I guess I can.
So say if you have say if you wanted to finish that helmet, and what is your thinking behind that?
What? Sorry.
What's your thinking when you say if you want to like bring it up to a more refined pass? If you wanted to
what I'm thinking to finish this?
yeah.
Not sure, but I'm trying to make something that growing. Uh, while we talk about while we have a conversation, so
Yeah.
I just keep going it. Yeah, but I'm not sure
You're not
what
sure.
it will looks like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep my ideas flowing. but
Mm.
maybe there's something changes here
Yeah.
and there. Yeah.
Well, look, that's probably perfect for you working with if you work with the ZBrush because um, there's that iteration the iteration process. Some people don't even work. Some people work with very little iteration, and then there's other people that work with a lot of iterations. But I think as long as you're doing it to the same same result will be that it looks the best it can look within a reasonable amount of time. Um,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I think when you're balancing all those things, because there's a such thing as you could easily rush something and it not be polished. And I think what makes you good is that you've refined all these processes and your iteration process is not completely. You know how some people just reiterate after reiteration. They just like nothing makes them happy. You ever had that with anyone like your friends or anyone like that before?
Not really.
No,
You know.
you never been like. Have you ever made a design that you couldn't get right?
Oh, yeah. That's many times
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's kind of like that. So what's when you work, what is something that is there like a let me try and find the wording for it. So if you're trying to do something new and different,
Uh,
is there something that you will do that?
Something new and different,
Mm.
and
Say if you want to do something that's like nothing like the other work that you've done.
um, well, I'm kind of confused with
The question.
with myself. Yeah, I mean,
Oh, so
yeah, with
let's say you want to do something that you've never done before, like a piece. Like, um, what is that? What is that like for you to do? Like something that you challenge yourself with. Is there something that you do like that, or
something. Oh, maybe I will go to sculpting. I think. I mean, in real
mm.
life.
Okay, that would be pretty cool to see you do sculpting. Yeah.
Yeah, sculpting.
Mm.
Um, Maybe toys
All right.
from from my previous design or something like that.
Do, do you want to get some of your designs made up into like figurines and things like that?
Oh yes, of course, man.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of my next achievement or next goal, I think.
All right.
I mean this design that I already made. I just want to really look at someday turn into 3D, real 3D things that you can
Mm.
touch and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Have you talked to anyone about that?
yeah. I've talked with some of my sculpting friends and stuff.
Mm.
Uh, some of them, some of them like interested to work with me
Mm.
with my with my design, and they sculpted it and but yeah, it just wait the right time, I think,
Mm.
because yeah.
Yeah. It's challenging as well. I know that, like that's something I would like to do also. And it's getting like a, getting a finished 3D design is tricky. Something that and it can look good and that it's actually worth people to put money down and buy. Um,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
like because you can't just make it and then hope people will buy it. You kind of have to be well. I mean, do you have a good community around you? Are people actually interested in buying your work? Because it would be a lot of money because you have to pay to get it printed and then pay to get copies made up, and then you have to do quality control for all these little steps. And I think that's the
Yeah,
tricky, that's the tricky thing, because it's very much. I think once 3D printing gets better, you could probably like perhaps maybe make it yourself and then print it off. And but then you got to learn to like 3D print, make molds, and do all that stuff. And sometimes your time is better spent working and then paying someone else to do that. So you have to you have to suss out how you want to go about doing all these things.
Are you already tried to print your 3D stuff into
A long time
those
ago,
to real?
I
Oh, okay.
yeah, like so I plan on with that helmet that I'm currently working on, I'm going to print it and do a life size one and a half life size version of it, and do a really high end quality version of that helmet, and see how that goes. And see, I'll try and do a Kickstarter for it, see if there's enough interest to do like a proper production run of it. And then if that goes well, I'll start doing that. And then what I wanted to do is start doing that amongst approaching like even like people like you, and going, do you want to
Oh,
design some of your work into prints, and try and get that that type of, how you have sideshow collectibles around, and you have
oh,
like for comics and that. So I want to kind of like do that for artists to have their things kind of like, a lot of artists I think have trouble with getting things off the ground. It's like a lot of work. So I was thinking, if you approach artists and go, look, do you want your stuff made, and um, see if there's a big demand for it, and you see if the community wants to actually purchase your work and as 3D, as like prints and things like that. And because I think there's a lot of, I think there's better artists now than there ever have been, but all we see now is just the same old shit, like Marvel. And I'm just
oh,
sick. I'm sick of seeing Marvel. I'm sick of seeing all that crap. Like I think they're outdated designs, and they're just stupid, to be honest. And it's
oh,
just strong men in suits, women with really big tits and big asses in tight
yeah. It's like
spandex.
typical. Yeah,
Yeah, and
typical.
I think, man, it's all good. I like big asses and big tits, but let's just be realistic. It's fucking. There's so many other there's
Yeah.
so many other cool designs that I don't need to cheapen myself and just appeal to what your sex is, and let's see if I can actually sell a good, like, let the design work for me, and sell the actual design and the aesthetics of a design. Because it's that theory, it's working on that theory of good designs sell, right? Like a really good design will sell. And it's kind of, I want to see if I can do that. Yeah. If that is a commercially viable thing, and it might not be, it might be complete bullshit, and I have to just like give up on it. But I think, yeah, I think there's a room for things to do things, because I don't know, like everything you see now is just like this, you know, this superhero stuff. And yeah, it would be great to you ever saw like the District 9 mech?
Oh yeah.
That, like,
I
how
love
cool was that?
discipline.
The District 9
Yeah.
mech, right?
Yeah.
Why isn't there more art like that?
Yeah.
That wasn't and all the District 9 art, like it was brand new, a fresh franchise, right? And it goes to show that you can do that with a lot of work, and a lot of
Yeah.
artists are making good work, but no one's producing it. So that's what I would love to do, is get into that area of getting that stuff made real. Because I don't want to collect any of that superhero stuff. I don't care. Like it's just it's kind of like it's it's like over exaggerated fandom. And I think where
Oh yeah.
it's just like it's just too much. And I think we're in that kind of over saturation. It would be good to see a change, and let instead of because a lot of artists are making all their cool artwork for companies and then they own it, and you don't own
Mm.
shit. Like you're not going to make any royalties off all the stuff. I didn't make no royalties off the Horizon stuff, none of it. So like it's just like, why not make your own work and build your own franchise around your work, essentially, in a way, branding, I should say, not a franchise. Because every artist spends their whole life, working away, and at the end of the day, you want something to show for it. And like this I think is probably why you want to do some like figurines and toys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want something to show for it. You kind of like, it's like you want to be able to have like all these cool statues that you've made around your house, and the collections and things like that, and just all that cool stuff. So, but yeah, I think it's definitely something. You never know, I might be approaching you for some things someday. So,
Oh man, thanks for the heads up.
because I really do want to like this is why I'm doing the artist spotlight interviews, because like and just showing off like artists within the community and things like that. Because I think as artists, we kind of like we're at home all day, and there's not much kind of sociability in it. And I want to create that sociability in doing it, and make this kind of really, I want to make it more connected and more vibrant than it is now, because it's like an antisocial thing. And I don't think artists intend to be antisocial, but I think they just intend to get their work done
Yeah, you're
without
right.
being
You're right
distracted.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like talking to like you and other people. It's encouraging. So it's just as it's if not even more encouraging to all kind of work together on producing work, and getting it done and making stuff. So what are you doing here? What's your thinking? Making a gun, I assume.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting
Yeah.
some more weapon. So it's developed right from the just head and torso become full body and then now guns. I mean,
Yeah.
like, yeah. Well, I'm enjoying this doodling while we are talking,
Yeah.
so it keep growing. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna put something big on his back or
Mm.
something like that. Or yeah.
So you just, I saw on your art station, you describe yourself as an illustrator. So are you an illustrator in your mind, or a concept artist?
Yeah, I was an illustrator,
Yeah.
make a cover book for local book, local
Mm.
children book and stuff. I
Yeah.
should change that in my art station actually.
I think that's
I
fine.
mean,
I think you kind of have a bit of illustrative. It's slightly, I know it's not illustrative, but you kind of do. You a little bit of that illustration feel to your work. A little bit. You kind of bridging. Um,
um,
I'll show. I'll do a quick screen share
yeah, okay.
of your art, so it will. You can still work away, but yeah, like you do have an illustrative kind of feeling. I'm just showing your work at the moment, and no, I think yeah, it's a little bit, because you draw, more of you've got some scene work, and
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
maybe just add, what you do, just add concept artist to it. Don't take the illustration away from it, because then you might miss on those jobs. So, but yeah, I'd leave it in there.
Oh, that's my old work.
Oh, you can see the screen, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So with this one here, this is more. This seems like it's more illustration.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
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 it's more like that. Yeah.
yeah. And then you got some more doodles and things in between. Yeah. If you made, all right, let's say if you made a branding, that's a pretty cool gun, man. I like those shapes. You'd really like ZBrush. I think you would. You just, dude, just get over that learning curve, and you're gonna be real happy. You'll be really happy. You'll be like, Mike, I love you.
I'll
You
try.
made
I'll
me.
try.
Like,
I'll try. I'll try.
I think you
So
would, because I can sense it in just your art. So if you if you made it, like, this is pretty cool, like branding and stuff like that, for like a cool branding. Like if you made something, because of course if you made toys and figurines, you have to build a branding behind it. What is your branding? What's your kind of like theme? Sci-fi?
yeah, yeah, more
Yeah.
like sci-fi. Yeah.
Do you have like a story? Do you have a story to behind any of your work?
Yes, I have. I have.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
Because
So
well, let me show you one. That's
do you feel
what's it?
like storytelling from my artwork? I mean,
Yeah, like
when you see
this.
my artwork and you see the other my artwork, and
Mm,
you can feel the connection between that.
yeah, yeah. There's some a synergy, like a world. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
mm,
Well, that's actually that I made my art based on my story that I try to write.
mm,
Yeah, but I never wrote it on the caption and stuff. And someday there's someone tell me about this, and then I think it worked. I mean, there's synergy of it and
mm.
similarity, and some there's a people also asking me, is there a story of it, because this is I believe there's story behind it and stuff like that.
Mm.
Yeah. So, yeah, because I made all this artwork based on story I try to write. I don't know it's people
It,
gonna buy it or not, but
mm,
that's why I can. That's what I can do right now, I think.
mm. Well, with anything like that, like, you're always going to be, like, the thing is, you have to accept that like a lot of people might reject it. Say if you went and
Oh yeah.
trying to sell it to people, like, you're going to have like 50 no's, right, or 100 no's, or 200 no's. Like, a lot of people have that when they try and sell a book. um,
Mm-hmm.
and so you have to just keep pushing it. Like, if you know it's a good story, what you do is you just refine it. I'm sure you're constantly refining it, and um, you just refine it and tune it up. Like, is there a story behind this image here?
Oh no, no, it's just yeah, it's just a collaboration between my friend. My friend
Mm.
make a character, and then I make a.
It kind of feels a bit like June. Anything with sand feels like June.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, it was for a band called CH. So
Oh,
it's like industrial metal band.
yeah,
It's
that's pretty
yeah.
cool.
So yeah,
What about this design here? Story?
yeah. The story is like it's connected to my other works.
Mm.
Yeah. When let me show you something.
And I'll go back. So go back
So
to. Mm. I think if you start sharing the screen, was it pause share? I think that's. Just let me know when you've shared your screen. Are you sharing, or you just looking
okay.
for something?
So
I think if you share yours, because you're probably still seeing my screen at the moment. So if you just share, I think it should click back to yours. I think.
is it is it it still say you are viewing M.A.N studio screen?
Okay, so if you click share your screen, it will go back to your screen.
Oh, I see.
I'm pretty sure.
Share. Where is it? View option. Um, share screen. Oh, you cannot start screen share while the other participant is sharing. It
All right,
says.
I'll stop. Yeah, yeah, we're
Oh,
back. Yep, now you can do it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Also, so
your screen.
this is the story, the big story of my artwork.
Oh, nice. It's
And
all written up nicely.
yeah.
So, what made you? What made you do this in the first place? What? Because a lot of people actually don't do this.
Uh, yeah, I love some story like Star Wars and stuff, and then I
Mm,
want to create my own. Like, but I also love to read historical in real life. I mean, like World War I, World War II, and
mm,
yeah, and I try to quote how, you know, basically, um, basically who involved the old worlds to war is West and East, right? I mean
mm.
the big major power from West or
Yeah.
East. Yeah, right. So I'm trying to uh, taking that fact into my own story to write, but the setting is in the future.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right.
So
You just.
I create, yeah, I create the characters, the mecha and stuff. The story is about World War IV. I mean,
World
there's
War
World War
Four, eh?
Four. Yeah,
Wow. That's. I guess it's not predictable in that way because everyone goes to like to World War Three. That's pretty. It's actually a pretty good idea to actually go to the next, thinking way ahead, right? Which is pretty cool. So you've written the story to it, and have you tried pitching it to anyone?
What?
Have you tried pitching it? Like you tried asking anyone to, to do it? Like
Oh,
to
I have not. I have not.
you
I
could
have.
try just to see. I know that you probably get turned down, but you never know. Look,
Yeah,
you never know. Someone might want to pick up your thing if you go, look, this is all the work with it, and you just try it. Like they used to do that back, like 20 years ago, right? When they were first making
yeah,
games.
yeah.
Like people wouldn't even have to write this much to get funding like 20 years ago. 20, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, like that's the crazy. Like we've changed. Times have changed, of course. But like look, I think if you've written all this story, right?
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
give you. I like to always give people encouragement. That's what I do, right? So like,
Mm,
you got all these drawings. You know what you need to do is then
mm,
like make a little Kickstarter thing, and you talk about I want to raise money for my Kickstarter, and you make
mm,
some good promo, right? You make some good promotion for your Kickstarter. You go, I want to raise some money to I don't know, maybe do a game or do figurines. Dude, you're like more than halfway there because you've got a story. That's like what you need to get people into what you want to you do. So I think whatever you're doing is you're on the right path. So you could totally do it, man. You could totally go. These are the main characters. I want to make these into figurines and then possibly make it into a game or a movie. Movies are pretty. I'm not sure which one's bigger, a movie or a game, but yeah, you've already got like how many pages is this or chapters?
So far I I only get this far.
Chapter 13.
Around
You've Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Maybe I will talk with someone or make
just
a Kickstarter
just do a
thing. But
Kickstarter. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'd do a Kickstarter. Just get, you know, how what you do is you get the key artwork together. And like, even if your first Kickstarter fails, then you know what to do for the next Kickstarter, right? Like, you have to be ready to fail before you succeed. So, um,
Yeah.
like, how many pieces of artwork failed before you actually started to get any good at it? So, I think you should totally do it. Yeah, you've already got the story down, and the thing is, you know what you do? You give out. I don't know if you give out the story, but you give the story to people who you think might actually be able to read it and then give you like um, good criticism about it, like honest criticism. Like,
Mm,
you need people who are like really harsh, and
mm. Yeah,
yeah,
you're right. You're
yeah,
right about it.
you don't want people blowing smoke up your ass. So yeah, it wouldn't work. You need someone, and you need to probably get someone who's actually wrote wrote a story, or maybe it just doesn't matter. If it reads, if people can understand it and stuff like that. But yeah, I think I didn't know that you've wrote anything. So I think you should totally do it, man. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you can put Storywriter up there as well.
I'll do it. I think I'll do it. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'll do it maybe in the future. But I gotta finish this writing first.
yeah, yeah, of course.
Mm. So yeah,
But I think you can definitely maybe push it to Kickstarter, because you can already draw the that's the other thing. You need images to sell it, and I think that's
yeah,
something you could do. Yeah,
yeah. Of course, man.
but yeah, I guess yeah, I'd totally do it, man. Yeah. But do you have any like other PhDs? Like, do you have any work that's not up on ArtStation, or anything very like interesting to look at, yeah, like work wise, workflow wise? Do you have anything that's kind of interesting to talk about in a way, to show people, give people a bit more of an insight into you?
Maybe this one. I think this artwork.
That one.
Yeah, I made it. It's talk. It's about in it, right? I mean, we talk about the artwork I made,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Well, this is give me some kind like goosebump. I think.
Mm.
Yeah, I made it like 2 years ago, and
Okay.
the story behind this artwork is like there's in the future there's a pandemic that wipe out human beings,
Mm.
but and then you can see only people who prepare that thing is survive. So I mean, like, I don't know, when this pandemic happens. I mean, like this coronavirus happened.
Mm.
I remember what I made 2 years ago. This one,
Yeah.
and then I dream of it like 2 or 3 times. Dream of it like
Mm.
it's happening. I mean, it's really happening.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah. In a way.
just like what I draw.
Mm.
It's really happening. So there's just people, just a little people survive, and then they kill each other to get the resource to survive.
Mm.
Yeah, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, looking back 2 years ago, this artwork, I just make it for fun. I mean, like, I have an idea. What if there's a pandemic virus?
Mm. That's pretty
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah. Like
and it's
I
happening
never thought about any of my work tailoring towards pandemic. So it is a weird coincidence. It is yeah, it's one of those things where it's kind of like, I mean, you've actually got the actually what is happening now, and yeah, it's kind of coming true. which I mean, it is weird. It's very weird, but
It's
yeah,
weird. It's
like
weird.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah. Is there anything else you can show? Because I'm not sure how long we've been talking. How long do you think we've been talking now?
It's about maybe almost 2 hours.
Almost 2 hours. Yeah, because I try
Yeah.
and not trying to go over too long doing these videos. So, but yeah, I'm just seeing. Is there
Is it
anything else? Hey, what's
is
that?
it like is it live video or
No, it's
you
not
will
live.
edit it?
I can
Oh, you
edit
can
it
edit.
later, but I
Okay.
generally don't want to edit a 2 hour video anyway. So yeah, that's not something I want to do. But yeah, what is this? This is
Oh,
interesting. Is like that movie, isn't it?
yeah. It's for Moral Engine. So
So you
but it's
actually
for the
worked on
book.
that. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's for the illustrated world of Moral Engines. So there's
Mm.
a book, and then let me show you the cover. Oh, so I work with another great artists such as Zan artist and then Ian McQuay
Mm.
to make the content of the illustrated world of motor engine books.
Mm.
And I have opportunity to make around I think 14 design of the traction CD, I guess.
Oh wow, that's cool, man.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that's really cool.
yeah. So they just they let me to publish it to my Sosmed just a few months ago. But
Mm.
this project. It's
Mm.
already three years ago, I think.
Yeah, it's always long. It's always such a great time in between. Yeah, it always feels like forever. It
Yeah,
kind of is forever, like ages ago. So it's not like last year or like 2 years ago or anything like that. But yeah, no, it's really cool. Got that opportunity to work on that. It's a pretty big franchise. So not franchise, brand. Is it franchise or brand? Brand IP. IP is the word. Why do I keep
IP
using
it's
franchise?
IP.
Yeah,
It's IP.
franchise is like Domino's. It's like yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
it's not thinking
Hey,
right
Mike,
today.
you live in UK or US?
Australia. I am Australian.
Oh, you live in Australia.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah. So
Yeah,
you're Indonesia.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We're worlds apart. Like, but yeah, no, that's really cool, man. Is there anything else you want to discuss before kind of leaving it here, or
Oh,
um,
maybe. Yeah, I think that's enough. I think
that's it?
for
Yeah,
because yeah for my artwork.
yeah.
Maybe
Oh,
maybe
man,
back to this. Huh?
yeah. It was really cool seeing how you work, and yeah, no, like really enjoyed chatting to you and finding out more about what you're doing, and now it's really cool to hear the like how you're working on the story and all that. And no, definitely I'll look out for that, and yeah, it would be interesting to see where that goes. But my thing is yeah, definitely just push with learning ZBrush. Hopefully, I've
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
inspired you to
yeah.
learn ZBrush, and
I will look out your YouTube. There's
yeah.
ZBrush tutorial, right?
Yeah, well, I might put a really basic one out, but
Oh,
I've got some on my Patreon that you can get a
oh,
bunch of them
okay,
if you're
okay.
interested. So they have introduction videos and things like that. But it might for super beginners. I don't think it's for like super beginners, but I might considering I don't know. I think I might do one just for like super beginners. Maybe I'll do one just say I don't think I'd sell it as a tutorial. I might just put it as a supplementary thing to my other
Oh,
tutorials, because my other tutorials are I like to discuss a lot more than just like real basic stuff. I like to kind of go because there's lots of things to go into when you're designing. Like, how do you make things look good? You know, how do you not overdo things? How do you like do all these little finicky details? How do you clean up things? And like how do you even start how do you start certain designs? Like where do you start? You know,
oh, I see.
there's lots of things like that, and you're trying to make sense of all these things and show people that they can do these things. And it's more about it's not all like I think just learning the tools is something that should be relatively easy. It's like learning to do the artwork and figure that out. I mean, I guess um, it's only when you start talking about like working and doing artwork. Like I asked you how you work, but you're just doing all these things automatic. But a lot of people would look at you and be like, "What are you doing still?" You know what I mean? Like you have to sit there and explain all the little in between steps so people understand it, and so that's what you end up having to do. It's a whole different thing. Teaching is a whole different thing. It's weird. I didn't think it was,
Yeah.
but yeah. All right. Well, we'll leave it there, and I hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial. Like and subscribe, like the usual thing I say at the end of these tutorials. If you want more of this, and I'll catch everyone later.